Hey, it's Gary Rogers again, Noggin Doctor. We're going to continue on our 15 myths about plagiocephaly and torticollis. This is the one I really love this one. The association between plagiocephaly and tongue tie, oral ties, torticollis and tongue tie and oral ties. So there's this group of individuals, primarily pediatric dentists and others, some craniosacral therapists, etc., who propagate the idea, the myth, that tongue tie causes all these secondary problems. Tongue tie, which is a technical term, medical term, ankylosing, meaning the tongue is tethered down to the mouth, is merely a failure of cellular apoptosis, meaning that this tongue doesn't separate normally from the floor of the mouth. There's no fascia involved there. It's just mucosa that did not go away, which it should, just like syndactyly between the fingers. When the fingers are fused, it means the fingers didn't separate because the cells between the fingers didn't die off. It's the same concept for ankylosing. And so with that said, that has nothing to do with congenital muscular torticollis, which is a acquired problem in utero from in utero constraint. Child's tucked in, muscle gets tight. It's a contraction, just like putting your arm in a cast. One is something embryologic, something developmental, something that happens along the way in terms of cellular interactions during development. The other is a acquired problem that is mechanical. And the flattening of the head happens secondarily to the torticollis or whatever other type of risk factor there is. But there is no correlation. If you go on PubMed and you type in ankylosing and torticollis, you will find zero meaningful hits. There are 2 hits on the site. I've done this before, and the same thing with plagiocephaly. These have nothing to do, these are articles that have nothing to do with that. So in fact, there is nothing in the scientific literature that supports this. It's complete hogwash. Yet, I see this over and over and over again. I have groups that are talking to me about had oral ties, we had the tongue was tied down, had to have it released to get the torticollis, get the muscles relaxed and things like that. It has nothing to do with it, guys. It's great to think that way, but that's not scientific, it's not factual, and it's incorrect. And the people who spin this stuff either don't know what they're talking about, which is very possible, or they're a bunch of charlatans who are trying to make a buck off people by selling this concept. But suffice it to say that flathead, torticollis, and tongue tie have nothing to do with one another. Torticollis and head flattening do, but neither of those two with tongue tie. The other thing I would tell you is that there is a lot of data in the literature that tongue tie is way overdiagnosed. So the question is how to diagnose this. There are grading systems for this. I use a very crude grading system. I've managed some kids with tongue tie. If they can put their tongue past their lower lip like this, or they can touch the roof of their mouth up the incisor frame, which is just behind your incisors, they probably don't have a sufficient of tongue tie to worry about it in terms of affecting speech and breastfeeding. And those are really the 2 big things. Feeding and speech are the 2 things you worry about with tongue tie. All the other things people attribute to it or say are a consequence of it are just not real. Those are the 2 things that have been borne out in the literature. Those are the things that have been written about. And so, and there are instances where that's reasonable to release, but nowadays it seems like everybody's getting a tongue tie release to manage something distant from the tongue tie. It's not the tongue tie anymore, it's everything else downstream needs to be managed in relationship to that. So I just put you on your guard, that realize that this is a big business. There was an article in the New York Times that talked about this being big business and people making lots of money. I remember one person on our Facebook group commenting that I know Dr. X in Boston, who's a world authority on this, and I looked him up, and guess what? Dr. X, besides all the stuff on social media, had 0 publications, not a single publication. Pediatric dentist, not a single publication about tongue tie, ankylosing, and anything else. He's just a guy out there talking, and ultimately making a lot of money off unsuspecting parents. So be on your guard. But